Welcome, welcome. It's me, Karen, and I'm doing solo today again while Casey is flying back to Hong Kong. It's a sunny day here in Hong Kong, and we're waiting for a typhoon to arrive this weekend. Apparently, it's going to be a direct hit to Hong Kong, so stay safe if you're anywhere near us. Today it's going to be a very, very exciting show. We have some guests here, very exciting to introduce you guys to them. Before we start the show, we should hear it from our chairman.
What is discussed on the GM show is not investment advice. We may or may not have ownership interests in the projects we are talking about, but this is not investment advice in any way, shape or form. And this is not Sir David Attenborough.
Thank you, Sir David. Here today, if you're new to the show, if you don't know the ABC of the show, the ABC is Asia Focus, builder friendly, and cool vibes only. So we're very, very excited to have a lot of people joining today because I guess it's about the title. Today is all about the meme coin and SocialFi with Ray. But before we start that, that's like our part 2. Before we start that, we have part 1 of the show, which is very, very exciting. I want to invite our friends from Korea. As you know, is Korea Blockchain Week next week, and a lot of people are going. And Ray is going as well, and followed by Token 2049, so in Singapore. And that's a lot of things that's happening. It's a busy month, and before we introduce our guest, I made a very, very special sponsorship message for this show.
Not sponsored by Korea Blockchain Week. Founded by FactBlock and co-hosted by Hash, the annual Korea Blockchain Week returns for the 6th year. Korea Blockchain Week brings together the brightest minds in the industry to discuss, redefine, and celebrate the future of finance. See you in Seoul next week, September 4th to 10th.
What about that? I mean, this is a very, very, I think this is a very cool message. Very excited to have our friends from Korea. So let us bring them on stage. We have Francis Kang, co-head of conference at Flatblock and Korea Blockchain Week. We have Fred Kim, NFT lead and director of business development at Flatblock, and also Wooster Han, community lead at Hashed. So let's bring them on. Hello, Wooster.
Hello. It's nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you. Oh, there you go. What's up? What's up? Fred, is Fred hearing? Hey, Fred.
Hello.
Brad was setting up Twitter last minute.
Okay.
Yes.
Welcome.
Hi.
So welcome to the show. We know that this is the 6th year of Korea Blockchain Week. So give us like a short history, you know, what's different about this year and like, what are you guys excited about?
Yeah. You want to begin, Francis?
Oh yeah, I can go first. Thanks, Hoster. Yeah, it's the 6th year of Korea Blockchain Week. We're returning for the 6th time this year in 2023. And one of the most exciting thing that we have seen this year is overall interest in Asia.
Yeah.
And obviously Korea is one of the bigger markets within Asia. And we had overwhelming interest for speaking and also everyone wanting to get involved in being part of the Korean ecosystem. So that's one of the things that stands out from the previous 6 years. The amount of interest just to be part of the conversation here has been very overwhelming. Yeah. And on that sense, we're also looking at like over 200 speakers this year and many more companies attending. And Usur can go deeper into how we thought about.
Oh,
what's up?
Yeah.
Situation.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's been an interesting journey for Hashed as well. Hash joined. Hash started. KBW since its inception back in 2018. And back then, I think we had a little more players, apart from Hashed and FactBlock. Oh, sorry.
Oh, we have a feedback problem. Okay, it's all good.
Is it better?
You might need to put your phone in another room.
That's what I was trying to prevent.
Yeah. This is like, people are saying this is like the first GM show right now because that's exactly what happened to us.
Sorry about that.
So,
This is better, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
So back then there are a bit more players than we are now. Now there's only FactBlock and Hashed as a co-host. But there are like pretty good people who's been on a journey with us. But now that we are, I think we are on a very good track to sort of having this ecosystem to grow together with FactBlock. The reason we started at Hashed over this conference is because we wanted to build an ecosystem in and out that really pulls together people from in and outside of Korea and really educate people on what this blockchain infrastructure really means to people, and really shed the light on the builders who are really genuine in building these products and trying to present that to the public and potential users. I think last year was really successful in a way. It was the first offline event after COVID-19. We had about like 4,000 people present to the conference with about 120 speakers back then. This year it's even bigger in a way that we have about 160 speakers.
Wow.
Francis here, and we've been grinding ourselves to sort of get those speakers and really try to make an engagement with them and the local players. There will be about 160 side events or 180 around. So it's going to be very interesting, builder focused. There will be a lot of business opportunities. So we are very looking forward to that.
Awesome. I really want to know like what's happening in Web3 scene in Korea right now, because I know that Francis shared some insights that, in the first wave of NFT, Korea's actually missed it because of the language barrier. So how is that like overcoming in the second time around, or is there another second time?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that as like a negative thing. I think it's more so that a lot of early participants tend to be English speaking. They come from the West. I think
Yeah.
Korea has a unique advantage when it comes to like there's like whenever like things don't happen right away, we have more time to work on things and then experiment. I think the sentiment overall here within the space is very overall more optimistic, given that like not everyone got wrecked at the same time. There's like slight delay into like if you really think about it, Korea is a siloed market. There's a language barrier, and yeah, in a way that works in our advantage because not everyone is in sync with the rest of the market, so they ride the wave and go down at the same time. I know coming from New York, where I'm based out of, the sentiment there has not been the most ideal. There's overall regulation fear and fear of crackdown overall in the US. And then
Yeah.
that translates to like the digital assets industry slash crypto as a whole. And obviously, I think one of the areas that got hit the most is NFTs and like more cultural side of Web3, where the regular participants are everyday people, which also is, if you think about it, it's a double-edged sword because NFTs and all like more like NFTs, I think they did a huge, it played a huge role in the last cycle, bringing in and onboarding everyday users, and obviously that those people to retail. And right now, like the interest is not there, at least from my perspective, being in New York. However, here I think there are a lot of exciting projects and builders who are still working on things, and I think also from an average participant here in Korea, they are more willing and still very interested, given the landscape of like technology adoption that has happened within Korea over the past 20 years. Everyone already had like mobile phone, like any app you could think of. We already had it before US had it. Any
Yeah.
service, like it was already well available here. Like we already had the backdrop now. All these new technologies coming, like for example, all these big conglomerates who's leading Web3 initiatives. One of the things they're still focusing on, you'd be surprised, you'd be thinking it's more banking, more like SEO, or more like securitization or tokenization related. But there are certain big conglomerates with huge consumer reach working on more metaverse NFT products still. You think, oh, why are they still working on it? But I think it attributes to the fact that there's still a decent amount of interest, and Korea is unique in a way, and also very interesting in a way that it has its own separate cycle and has different like timeline of adoption. Some things way faster, some things you in the West, the hemisphere, you guys would deem it as more behind. But I think that's a unique strength of the market, not having to follow just whatever cycle that the US is going through and have our own say and own timeline of things.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, what are some of the challenges that oh, there's a feedback again.
Is that me?
Okay, I'm back.
That was a fire alarm.
Oh, okay, sorry. Well, so what are the challenges that Korea has to face now? So we have like the post Terra Luna. Is it still an issue? You mentioned there is like a monopoly on the scene, and that they're gone now. So it's more like an open playing field right now. So tell us a little bit more about that.
I think the feedback is still going on. It's like fire alarm.
Hello.
Yep. Yeah, I just wanted to shed some light on that. There are still like local builders building their own projects. But if we're talking about challenges, I think as we mentioned, language barrier still would be sort of a block for local builders to sort of spread out outside of Korea. It seems like we have like great builders with great ideas and philosophies who's building products. But then as Francis sort of emphasized, a lot of those builders are sort of siloed inside Korea. And for a lot of investors outside of Korea, they're trying to look into this local market, but they would need help. Anyone who's based in this local market, who can actually pin specific players rather than them being able to sort of see who's building what, right? And it has to be very peculiar situations for these builders to sort of get traction from these outside players. Um, you know, for example, like being invested by anyone, any foreign VCs who has a good reputation and so on. But obviously, it's not for everyone. So I think that really acts as a block to a market, which has been the way since the inception of crypto market in Korea. But then I do also witnessing a good trend, which is a formation of communities, which is a lot different from before Terra Luna and after Terra Luna. Before Terra Luna incident, and before actually DeFi boom, there were communities, but there weren't that much of a communities who's trying to really getting these educations and information outside of Korea and really sharing that within these communities. And nowadays, I'm seeing a lot of these communities who's trying to educate each other. I'm seeing a lot of startups, pinning towards this crypto education, not just development, not just for the developers, but also for those who's interested in businesses. And I would say that these kind of trend and culture can help nurturing more of a healthy market and growth of the ecosystem in general. And there will be another layer, which is also regulatory guidelines. As Francis said, I think it's a global trend, as anywhere, Japan, Korea, China, wherever. I think there has to be a more clear guidelines in terms of regulations. There will be there will be an act, there will be an effect in Korea from next year, that aims to protect investors and who's dealing with these virtual assets. And the development of such regulatory frames and guidelines will actually help the builders to be more confident when pursuing their businesses and sort of selling their products to people. And they don't really have to be scared about like, oh, am I doing this right or wrong? And that can act as a really good it can be a good catalyst for the growth.
So
Yeah.
what we mentioned, like community building, like what's it like to build communities in Korea? Is it Discord? Is it Twitter? What sort of, like, is it different from like the rest of the world?
Yeah, it's a good question, Karen. I would say it's pretty much similar to anywhere. There will be Discord. There will be a lot of Telegram groups, and there will be a lot of offline gatherings and educations. There are like few education platforms that sometimes you pay, sometimes you don't pay. If you go to one of these gatherings and get an education, then you'll naturally form a community with those people who've been tuning these educations with you. Like the gist of communities is all about belonging, right? The sense of belonging. I think there are lots of Discord channels in Korea, pinning towards these NFT communities, but not every community would provide this sense of belonging. Rather than they would just talk about the price of NFTs, a lot of speculative trends. But I'm also witnessing a very good development of these communities that essentially, provide these sense of belongings, and that would be sort of mixture of offline and online. And I think KBW can be a good opportunity for people to can actually have a sense of what these communities are. Just getting along with these people who's interested in crypto. And there will be I hope this could be a good platform for that.
Yeah, I mean,
And
so there. Oh yeah, Fred, go on.
I was just going to go back to the challenges you mentioned, right? I mean, I think one challenge is the travel rule and just a lot of the volume that's what's really attractive about Korea. And all that volume is on the centralized exchanges. So moving some of that volume to MetaMask and having more of like a degen culture, right? There's not a lot of Uniswap traders in Korea. And that goes along with NFTs. You can't have NFTs you don't want to have NFTs in your like Upbit account, for example. So it's always about marketing and how to direct that attention to bring these big retail traders that are on decentralized exchanges. And that's been like the kind of the trend right now, right? That we see with the non-VC backed tokens doing well, and just like this Unibot culture taking off, right? So I think that's really interesting, and the language barrier definitely plays into that marketing side. There's a lag with that culture.
Is that like a different trend do you see in Korea in Web3, or do you think it's following the US or Japan, or is it doing its own thing?
You mean a different trend with like the travel rules for in Korea you have to KYC your MetaMask, so you can't move your ETH out to your MetaMask unless
Right.
you have it approved by the centralized exchange. Yeah.
I see.
So yeah, I mean, it's not like that elsewhere in the U.S., but it's definitely been enforced in Korea. So there's a lag into moving stuff out.
Right. So how's that like affecting like the culture of NFTs or like Web3? Like I think like that also affect like how the culture is like being cultivated, right? So how do you think it's like different from other markets?
I think there's just a really big it's a different type of degen culture. They just chase a lot of the high volume trading tokens on Upbit, which is why you see like these crazy pumps that happen. And I think there is people that are becoming more sophisticated over time, and more better sharing better information and able to have translators on their team and following the right Twitter accounts. But I think that has to happen more. Yeah.
So
Just education and marketing.
yeah, I mean, so there are a lot of big corporates in Korea, like as we all know, like what are they doing? Are they getting into Web3? Are they getting into NFTs? Like maybe, I don't know, Francis, do you have any insights on
Yeah,
that?
I would add to what Fred was just saying. It's Korea has a slightly different approach. While there, as Worcester said, there are different communities developing, and then like organic interest of people wanting to learn more about NFTs or other Web3 initiatives overall. That's has been growing and overall has been uptrend. However, what really drives things here culturally is big players, especially big names and big logos, leading initiatives on that end for like consumer adoption. So we talked about enterprise adoption earlier, like certain companies, their digital assets team, experimenting and launching Web3 products, mostly revolving around NFT. One good example would be like I believe like SK Planet did a certain partnership with the big L1 where they were making their points app relating more to like NFTs and like making experience around it. I think that's a good example of how like the adoption actually happens like real quick. So one two ways of adoption that we can see within the region is just like overall organic interest of everyday people, people who want to learn about community. They are experimenting whatever they have, just learning more about all these projects and the communities that's in English, maybe through Korean communities who are like amplifiers. They tend to translate things and do a lot of like pro bono work for the public. And then another angle is while these interests are growing within the community, these companies can leverage the momentum and trend and actually put that interest into actual use and adoption. I think that's one thing that's very different, in my opinion, because beyond the headlines and beyond just partnership news titles, um, these actual conglomerates with tens of millions of users and on their hand actually putting one of their products on chain and putting these initiatives out. I think that's one of the strongest points on parallel with the community side of things, which in my opinion really tackles what this technology should be doing and then should be adopted in many angles. And I think that's unique about this market, especially with the pace that these enterprises are moving as well. Japan has similar landscape. However, they move slower, and Hong Kong and Singapore they tend to be leaning more towards finance, infra, banking, on that side, and then late stage capital, huge capital allocation, family offices. However, what Korea really excels at is like being a first mover at these adoptions happening, like to day people who can actually use these technology.
Right.
Yeah,
So yeah, Fred, go on.
there's been more corporate brands that have joined. Like there's a big shopping, kind of like your Costco for Emart. So there's a brand called Emart that have launched their NFT collection, and as Francis was mentioning, like conglomerates like Lotte. So Lotte has a really big push with their Caliverse metaverse, and they also have a big IP play with their Belly Gome NFT dropping. Everyone loves K-pop, and Psy actually dropped his NFT maybe like over 6 months ago now. So, seeing these big corporate brands come in, even like a brand like Shinsegae, they're also trying to do like a Poo Villa NFT. So, everyone's trying to, all the bigger brands are paying attention to what's happening in the West with corporate brands trying to adopt NFTs.
That's awesome. So bringing us back to like what's happening next week. So what are the most exciting things that's happening during the blockchain week, and what can we expect from brands and exhibitors?
I think the overall important part is that it's we're kicking off the Asia conference week. There'll
Mhm.
be two legs. I think most people are stopping by Korea first in Seoul for Korea Blockchain Week, and then we're expecting. Uh, uh, we actually added a bunch of speakers last minute. We have about, I think last time I checked, about 200. So the number actually went up. And then this is a world being here, all these speakers coming from all over the world, representing different regions, vertical sectors. That's happening throughout our industry and representing their own vertical and their own region. So I think it'll be a very international conversation and nice balance of East and the West. We not only have people from Korea, we also expect people from Hong Kong who's speaking, also Japanese enterprises who are going to be company. So though we're excited to have and lead a narrative around APAC and just have these countries congregate around us and have all these international people flying from the West to learn more about the Asian market, especially not only about Korea, but like what's the broader trend that's happening, what revolves around it, how each markets differ. And we're expecting a lot of announcements from these big protocols and enterprises doing huge initiatives. Obviously, cannot say what they are, but I think despite where the market is at the moment, these this lineup of announcements that are about to come out, that's mostly out of Korea, and the initiatives done in Korea, I think that's really promising. Where everyone is down bad, I think one of the things that really excites me, especially fortunate enough to work with Uster and Fred to organize this conference and learn more and have access to information, is that there's still excitement and optimism. And then our goal and expectation from this is hopefully the conference next week translates that local excitement and what these big brands are leading with their initiative. And there's a lot of new ideas that's going to be coming out, what new builders and innovators have been working on. So we're really excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, I have a last question for all of you guys. So, if people want to know more about like what's happening in Korea, like who are the people on Twitter they should follow, or what are some of the accounts that they should be?
Please definitely follow Uster. He's a
Yeah.
master Twitter poster, and then he cranks out a lot of good narratives. And then obviously, Hash has been a great partner of ours for the past 6 years and spearheaded a lot of conversations and narratives coming out of Korea. And then we work closely together to build narrative around Korea. And then there's Korea Blockchain Week Twitter, obviously. We share Korean related content. And then and then Worcester posts a lot of great content. So I would follow Worcester and KBW accounts.
Yeah, Wooster, who do you recommend?
Yeah, I would definitely recommend following KBW official account. There will be a lot of different content they will be pushing out, aside from speaker announcement. And also, please do follow Hash the official account. If you get a chance, we do post a lot of research content, and we also do conduct series of research. The local markets and our thoughts and thesis. So hopefully that would sort of create a value add activities to those who's following the Hash account.
Awesome. This show is also about like bringing Asia to the world. So like whoever that's interested in Asia, Korea, do follow them and like get more insights in the market. So thank you so much. Thank you, Francis, Fred, and Wooster today for joining us in this show. We're very, very excited to see you guys next week, or also in Token in Singapore if you guys are there. So yeah, it's gonna be a busy month, and we'll see you there.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is our part 1 of the show, and guess what's happening? Our next part of the show is obviously bringing up our CEO, Ray, and today we also have a special guest. Guess who? We are also bringing in Char. Hello, Char. Hello, Ray.
Hey, GM. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm a little bit sick, right? That's why my voice is a little bit even lower than normal. Yep.
What's up? So, what's up, Char?
Char,
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Hello, Char.
How's it going?
I'm good. We are going to Singapore together. So if people are going to Singapore, you guys probably will meet us. in a lot of events. So what's going on, Ray? Today we have like this title that we're gonna have two parts within the two parts within the part two, which is first part is meme coin, second part is SocialFi. So what do you want to talk about first?
I want to talk about Singapore first, yeah, because just a fun facts to share, right? I think in Singapore I will be sharing a hotel room with Cha. Yeah, so
Oh,
yeah,
damn.
to save
Careful.
costs and stuff. Yeah, we are very
Hey,
cautious
yo.
we are very cautious with our treasury. Yeah, that's why we're sharing a room. Anyway, jokes aside, it's not very funny joke anyway. Jokes aside, I think we should talk about meme first, and then we talk about SocialFi. Right? Why we separate the two sections is because a meme is literally a meme coin, right? That's why when we launch it, we literally tell people that okay, there's no promises, no utility, no roadmap, right? No expectation of financial return. So when you buy meme coin, it's literally buying a meme coin, right? I think we have to make it very, very clear for legal reason, for whatever reason, right? Because the last thing that we want is okay, you have like unexpected or unrealistic expectation, right? And then you get angry and stuff, right? And at the end of the day, you understand what we're building, right? Yeah, and meme coin is a meme coin, right? For legal reason, for whatever reason, right? That's something that we have to make it very, very clear in the beginning. Yeah, Cha, anything that you want to add on this part?
Yeah, I think when it comes to how we are pushing meme coin is it's essentially a token to scale our community up. Like fungible is the way when it comes to how we push, outside of the whole dilution argument altogether. So meme actually will allow us to scale the community further and push a lot more verticals when the time comes.
Yep. Now, I think at the end of the day, right, we see fungible token and non-fungible token, right? They are both great tools to build a community, right? To expand the community, right? But somehow, I think there's a certain limitation for non-fungible token, right? That's why we have a fungible token called meme, right? So that everyone, even if they only have like $10, right, they can be part of our community. I think this part is how we see about the whole, I would say, ecosystem of meme land. Right? And that's why we launch meme coin. That's why we launch a fungible token. Right? And I think that part is something that we need to make it very clear, right? Because at the end of the day, I think there are a lot of moving parts. I think the regulations and a lot of stuff, they are not very clear yet. Right? That's why we want to work with the best lawyers who knows the crypto law very well, who knows the security law very well, so that we want to make sure that every holder is safe, right? Especially our team is safe. Right? Because at the end of the day, I don't want to live in Bahamas, right? I have a family, right? I don't think Bahamas has that many good schools and stuff like that, right? And
Isn't
I think
Bahamas better?
pardon?
Isn't Bahamas better than Hong Kong?
I don't know. I think Hong Kong is pretty good, right? I mean Bahamas. Maybe they have an international school, but at the end of the day, I think that we want to make sure that this can be sustainable, right? This can be alive, right? For 5 years, 10 years, right? It's not like, okay, we launch it and then we crash it, right? This is the last thing that we want. Yeah. At the end of the day, we believe that crypto, blockchain, NFT, they can actually disrupt a lot of industry, right? That's why we want to be part of the cultural movement, right? And that's why we have to be very, very safe, right? Because at the end of the day, we see a lot of tokens, a lot of projects, right? They have a lot of cool stuff going on, right? They say they are cool, right? But somehow, because a lot of like basic stuff they didn't do right, and then they just crashed, right? I think this is the last thing that we want. And at the end of the day, I think from the beginning, when we launched Memeland, right, we told our holders, we told our community that we try to be different, right? It's not because, okay, we were old or stuff, right? I mean, I'm older than most of the founders in the space, but at the end of the day, it's more about how we see it as a business, right? That's why when we launch it, we want to make sure that okay, we comply with the laws, we comply with the regulations. Yeah, and meme coin is therefore why we launch it as a meme coin. Yeah, but anyway, enough about legal stuff, right? Let's talk about something more straightforward, right? I think
this is the first time we're going public about meme coin. Like, so
yes.
What can we talk about?
We actually had a call, right? Actually have two calls, right, with our MVP holders, right? So some of them they already know some information, right? And I think for us, on one hand is to give them the access, right, before everyone else, right, because they are MVP, they are VIP, right. On the other hand, it's also a good way for us to get feedback from the community. At the end of the day, if we announce something, right, to the whole community, it's hard to change, right, because it seems super weak, right. But when we announce it to a smaller group of people, right, then we can get very honest feedback from our community. Then we can change or modify some of the details, right? Then we announce to the bigger community so that the end product would be more crafted, more, I would say, well prepared. Yeah, this is how we operate at Memeland, right? And right now, the so-called tokenomics that we are sharing about meme coins is something that we announce it to, is I would say 90% similar to what we discussed with our MVP holders, right? But this is like the first time officially we announce it to our community, to our holders, right? To make sure that, okay, there are no, I would say, misinformation, right? From whatever speculation that people have. Yep. Sure. Anything to add?
Yeah, I think people are just waiting for more details, and I think before we jump into all of that, it's pretty simple to understand what we are trying to push when it comes to meme coin. We just pretty much have been designing the tokenomics as well as what investors we work with or what markets we work with. The whole idea is to push the community on priority, and I think once we start talking more about details, everyone's going to be aligned on that. You know, the whole idea is to grow with the existing community and also prioritize where the community's best interests lie. So I think we can jump into the details from there.
Yep, sure. Yeah, I think there are a few parts, right, of the meme coin tokenomics, right. The first part is about community. Second part is about, I would say, outside private investors, right. And then the last part is about the contributors, right. So for the community part, I think it's very, very straightforward. We mentioned that we have about 69%, right, of the token which is reserved for the community, right, and it will be broken down into a few parts, right. The first part is the airdrop, is for the Memeland NFT holders, right. By the way, Char, if I mention anything wrong or legally risky and stuff, please remind me, right? I think.
Well, I'll mute you on right here.
Yep.
Yeah, mute him and then we can start screaming so it just gets shut
Okay.
down.
Yeah.
We'll drop his voice.
Yeah, for the airdrop, right? I think we mentioned that we will be airdropping 25% of the total supply to all our NFT holders, right? I think the whole thing that we will design is initially 5% will be unlocked, and then the 20% will be locked inside the NFT via a smart contract. Yeah, the whole idea is when we think about the NFT market right now, right, there are not that many NFTs that has launched their own token, right? There are maybe a few of them, right? But most of the tokens, right, after the launch, right, I think the NFT kind of like suffer, right, because there is no more future catalyst, right, for the NFT. Right? This is the last thing we want, because when we look at NFT, we believe that this is like a very, very important part of the whole ecosystem. All right. And honestly, when you zoom out and look at all the blockchain right now, right, all the top blockchains right now, I would say that all of them are actually doing NFT, right? You look at like Polygon, Solana, Avalanche, right, and Cardano, right? Even fucking Bitcoin has ordinals right now, right? So somehow we believe that NFT is a better way for people, for it to reach the masses. That's why we want to make sure that, hey, right now we are already the leading project, right, in the global NFT space, right? We are number one in Asia already, right? So we want to make sure that we continue to lead the space. That's why the first thing that when we think about the tokenomics is how can we make sure that our NFT continue to keep the quote unquote value, right? Yeah, after we launch the meme coin, right? This is something that we have spent quite a lot of time on. That's why the solution would be very, very straightforward, right? We airdrop a lot of the total supply to our NFT holders, right? We only unlock a relatively smaller portion of them, right, to make sure that, okay, people can still buy, sell, trade, right? But yeah, I think we want to reserve the future catalyst, right, for the NFT. Right? I think this is the first part. Anything to add, Cha, on airdrop?
Yeah, no, I think just to clarify, it's going to be 5% of the total token supply that's going to be unlocked on day 0, and this will be for all the airdrops will be issued to all holders for a claim. This includes MVP, potatoes, and captains, and Obviously, not all NFTs will receive the same airdrop. There'll be different airdrop base categories per collection that we have. So yeah, Ray, you can move forward from it.
Yep. And for the airdrop, right? I think people have been speculating a lot, right? I think for us it's very straightforward. We mentioned before that for potatoes and MVPs, right? They are we won't look at the rarity of the NFTs, right? Meanwhile, for captains, right, as we mentioned that this is like our main collection, right? That's why we look at the rarity of the type, right? To depend to decide on the airdrop proportion. Yeah, this is something that we want to make it like publicly right now, right? So that people can stop the speculation on, okay, maybe captains won't have rarity base airdrop and stuff, right? We will have that. Yeah, I think that's something that we want to make it very, very clear. Right? At the end of the day, when we mention that, okay, this is our main collection, right? We want to keep our promise to tell people why this is the main collection. Yep. And then the second part, right, is very straightforward. It's the ecosystem fund. It's about 1/3 of them, right? For the ecosystem fund and also other portion, right, of the whole tokenomics, right? We have a pretty unique, I would say, unlock schedule. Right? I think when we look at the space right now, right, the good thing about being kind of like late, right, to the party is you can look at all the tokens that have launched before us to see how they do, right? When they were the pioneer, right, they try new things, right? Of course, there are a lot of practices, maybe good, maybe bad, right? So for us as a I would say relatively late joiner, right, we can look at what are the good practice so that we can learn from them. So when we look at the tokens on the market right now, most of them they have a very big I would say unlock dates, right? Maybe they have a few tranches, right? And maybe unlock like 6 months, unlock like a year, something like that, right? I think that when we look at the market right now, basically the market will try to front run all the I would say existing investors, right, before the token get unlocked, right? Because people always assume that the investors will just dump the token, right? I think this is not the fact, right? But people just assume that. So what we design with our, I would say, unlock mechanism, or is pretty unique in a way that we will have a daily unlock, right? That means that okay, all the token supply will be unlocked every single day until the end of the locking period, right? For the ecosystem fund community part and also the private investors, right? They are all unlocked within like 24 months, within 2 years, right? Because we believe that for a token, right, to fully utilize its value, right, I think most of the supply should be on the market, right, so that people can make use of it, right? Because as Cha mentioned in the beginning, when we think about fungible token, we see it as a way to expand our ecosystem, expand our community. So if we actually lock up a lot of the fungible token, right, then we can't really unlock the community, right? That's why we have a daily unlock mechanism where on one hand we can reward our holders, right? On the other hand, we can also make sure that there's no sudden influx of the token supply, so that on one hand the market can't really front run all the existing so-called buyers and investors, right? But also we also have give back more control, right, to the holders, to the people who participate in the meme coin. Yep. So that part is the ecosystem fund. About 3% will be unlocked, right? And then the remaining, as I mentioned, right, the ecosystem fund is about 1/3. That means about 33%, right? So 3% will be unlocked, right? And then in the beginning, right? And then the remaining part will be unlocked over the next 24 months. So there will be like two parts of let's call it pre-sale, right? For the lack of better words, right? Both parts of the pre-sale will be about 10 to 12%. Right. I think the final numbers is to be confirmed based on the final commitment, right, of different so-called quote unquote investors. Yeah. And I think, as I mentioned in the last GM show, right, we basically closed the private sale, right, to the private investors. Right. I think we mentioned quite a lot of names last time, and the whole idea is to, on one hand, we don't want any big investors to own the supply, to make majority supply of the meme coin, right? Because we believe that meme coin should be a token for the people, right? So if there is a big owner of the token, right, then it kind of like defeats the purpose. That's why when we construct the whole private sale, we think about a few things. Number one, can we try to get investors or supporters, right, from different countries, especially in Asia, right? Because as I mentioned, we believe that the future of crypto, of blockchain, is actually led by Asia, right? That's number one. Number two is we also want to get the support from legit Web2 and Web3 builders, right? Because at the end of the day, crypto fund or investors, right? They set up the fund not for charity, right? They set up the fund for financial returns and stuff like that, right? That's why when we get their support, of course, they will help us, right, to make meme coin more interesting, right? But at the same time, we also want to get the help and support and advice from Web2 and Web3 builders, right? That's why, as I mentioned last time, we got some good commitment, right, from the most legit, I would say, Web2, Web3 builders that we know that can help Memeland, right? For example, we got Matthew, right, from Everscan, who's the founder of Everscan, right, to become our private round investors, right? We also get the CoinGecko founders, right? We also get the founders of Axie Infinity, Sandbox, right, and a few other, I would say, Web2, Web3 guys who actually make, I would say, applications that are usable by a lot of people. Right? I think that part is something kind of unique, right? Because I think when people talk about blockchains, right, when you look at the top 100 tokens, right, most of them are very focused on the infrastructure, the protocol, right? But as a founder, right, for 15 years, I understand that infrastructure is great, right? But most people don't care about infrastructure, right? Because at the end of the day, how can we just use the infrastructure is something that is more relevant to most people. Just like when we go online right now, right, using Wi-Fi, using internet, right, people don't know anything about SMTP or like TCP/IP and stuff like that, all kinds of protocols, right? They only know that, okay, I use Facebook, right? I use a social app, right? I think that's why when we mention about, for example, like Axie Infinity, right? They were one of the most popular, right, games, right, on blockchain. And then another investors that we got is from Steppen, right? So that would also be one of the most popular applications, right, on blockchain as well, right? And of course, like Everscan and CoinGecko, right? They are also the most popular tools, right, in Web3 right now. Right? I think that's how we think about the individual, like angel investors, right? And of course, we got some investment from some Web2 builders, right? So that they can help us to work on the IP, the brands and stuff like that, right? At the end of the day, we also want Memeland, right? Not just about Memeland, right? We want Memeland to be about everything, right? Every brand who is interested in Web3, right? So that's how we construct around. And then for the country part of investors, I think we mentioned that last time. I think some people they didn't get the whole list, right? And for example, we got like the Spartan Group, right? We got the Amber Group, yeah. We got Folius Ventures. I think Folius Venture. I think the name is not so familiar with a lot of people, right? But they are actually the lead investors of Steppen, right? And they are one of the, I would say, I met Jason, and then he's like one of the smartest, I would say, founders, right, of a fund that I have ever talked to, right? So he has a lot of good insights in the how to bring a blockchain, right, into like become useful, right? Yeah, I highly recommend people to check out the research paper that they did with pay to earn white paper talking about Steppen and stuff. I think all this stuff is very interesting, right? Because at the end of the day, right, we want to make sure that Memeland can continue to grow, right? Not just, okay, we only have a NFT, we only have a fungible token, right? We actually want to build the application, right? Which we will talk about in the later part of this section, right? I think for the investors, Cha, anything that I want to mention for the private sale?
Well,
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
sorry,
Carol.
go on, Gary.
I have a question for both of you. So you guys been talking to our investors. Like, what are some good feedback and like comments from them, like, and your experience working from them?
I think it's like we basically live in two worlds, right? It's almost like when you talk to funds and builders, right? They're so bullish, right, about Web3, right, about blockchain in general, right? And to be honest, I mean, I don't want to say it out loud, but somehow, to be fair, I don't think they care too much about the NFT market right now. Right? They care about NFT as a category, but they don't care about the NFT market. Right? And when we talk about, okay, how cool meme land is, blah blah blah, right? They actually don't really give a fuck about that. Right? I mean, it's okay, right? But they look at the team more than they look at the NFTs that we have. Right? I think that part is
They're
something
not
that
looking at our Discord. Okay.
I mean, I think if they look at our Discord, right, I think they would say no, right, straight away, right, in that meeting, right. I mean,
Okay.
jokes aside, I just think that when you manage a huge portfolio and a huge fund, right, I think the time horizon that you look at is very different, right, from NFT holders, right, especially NFT holders who over invested, right, and are down back, right. I think those are very different, right? From when you talk to like long-term investors, yeah, to general NFT buyers, right? I think a lot of people I think we're grateful, right, that a lot of our holders in our communities, right, they are actually they believe in what we are doing, right? So 90% of them, they almost like always stick from day one and stuff like that. But the thing is, because of the design of the so-called tool like Discord, right? Basically, the people who are the loudest, right, who are the most negative, right, they usually get the biggest voice, right? Because honestly, they have the most time, right, to spend time on Discord, right, to I would say to talk about anything, right, and anything that we launch is never enough, right? It's almost like they're like Asian parents, right? I think in a way that I find it very familiar, right? because I'm Asian, right, and I think Discord is kind of like that. And to be honest, it's not just NFT. Basically, all the online communities, right, they amplify the negativity very easily, right? And I think in the market, like the current NFT space right now, I think it's also I would say not surprising, right? Because I mean, a lot of people they are down on their investment, right? And I think they are over leveraged too much, right? So I think all those things comes down to a way that the vibe of the NFT market, right? People keeps talking about, okay, NFT is dying, all projects are dead and stuff like that, right? I think when we talk to the investors, right, they actually don't really think so, right? They don't really care about that at all, right? And to be honest, right, this is not their first rodeo, right? I mean, most of the investors, right, they experience the dot-com boom, right? And then somehow they understand that after I would say the downturn, right? I think there will be some companies that can survive and then thrive, right? And I think they kind of like bet on Memeland is one of that, right? So they look at the team, they look at our vision, right? Instead of just looking at the floor price and stuff like that, right? And I think there are a few projects why they continue to get the support, right, from bigger investors, but also from the NFT communities, because it's not just because of their roadmap and stuff, right? It's more about the team is more about what they plan to build, right? I think the plan to build part is actually quite important, right? Because at the end of the day, I think we are still very early in the market, and we literally have to build things out, right? And I think when we talk to them, they focus a lot on the future, right? They focus a lot on our past, right? They don't focus too much on the NFT that we have right now, right? And I think it's really hard to explain to them why PFP matters, right? And I think because I mean they have their face and stuff, right? They don't have to use a JPEG, right, to represent themselves, right? So I think they are older than the general audience of NFT, right? So somehow they see it more like a business, right? They see it more like a, hey, how can we disrupt Facebook? How can we disrupt like other industry, right? Instead of just looking at the so-called floor price, right? I think that is number one. Number two is they're actually very interested in why we jump into the rabbit hole of Web3, right? They want us to share why why we believe in Web3, right? And I think at the end of the day, I think a lot of them they come from like financial background, right? So to them, right, the financial return part is very straightforward, right? But at the same time, when they want to invest in a team, right, they also want to know the reason behind the team, right? Because I mean, there are so many things that can make money, right? And to be honest, right, in crypto space, there's too many things that can make money, right, in a very short period of time. And to them, as a fund, right, when they have a longer horizon, right, they care less about the short-term fluctuation of the asset price, right? They care more about, okay, does it kind of like 100x and stuff like that, right? In a few years, right? That's something that they want to know more, right? So when they ask us about what we are going to build in mainland and stuff, right? They usually focus on that. Yeah. So I think these are the two things. And to be honest, right? We ask them about the general market sentiment and stuff like that. They're always, I wouldn't say they're always bullish, right? But they are very, very hopeful, right? Because they see that comparing today to like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, actually blockchain and crypto, right? And even NFT, the adoption rate is actually much higher, right? Especially on the financial side, right? That's why I feel like despite what the market sentiment is, right, they are actually very, very bullish about what the industry is heading towards. Right now, when you look at like Hong Kong, right, it's pushing Web3. I mean, the government official is literally right supporting blockchain, right? And I think a lot of other countries, I think they are also starting to have a more clear rules about the regulation and stuff like that. I think that's also very, very interesting, right? And I think that is the general sentiment that we have when we talk to the investors. Yep.
Right. So what I mean, like everyone is asking, like when and what is happening now? What's the status?
Yep.
Char, Ray, can you guys tell us more?
I think, as I mentioned as I share with some of our holders, right, I think the technical part is ready, right? I think the private sale is also close, right? We are sending SAFT. For people who don't know what SAFT is, SAFT stands for Simple Agreement for Future Tokens, right? Yeah. Anyway, just a legal document, right? And basically, we are sending SAFT to our investors this week, right? So that part is basically closed, right? And then the biggest variable is actually our conversation with some of the centralized exchanges, right? I don't know how much I can share, right? But basically, most of the top exchanges have been reaching out to us, right? They want to understand more about what we are doing, right? And what's our plan, right? And we are in conversation with quite a few of them, right? So yeah, except the US based one, right? I think you. I mean, let's put it this way, right? I think in the US right now, the situation is a little bit unclear for a lot of things, right? That's why I think all those exchanges, right? I think they're facing a lot of scrutiny and stuff like that, right? That's why we want to be very, very careful, right? Because at the end of the day, we want to look at the long-term sustainability, right? So I think other than the US exchanges, right? Basically, we are in talk with all the top exchanges, right, in the space right now, right? So I think that's something that we can share right now. But again, I think that the key is they are the third parties, right? We can't control what they do, right? I think whether they want to lease us, whether what they want to do with us, right? I think this is not something that is controlled by us. I think we do our best. We try to fulfill the due diligence questions and stuff like that. We talk to them. We understand. We share our plan, right? But I think that's something I would say that's the biggest variable in our launching plan. Char, anything to add?
Yeah, I think when it comes to how we've gone about, and I think one of the motors for GM show has also been Asia focused. So that was one of our primary indexes of speaking with investors or whatever partners we want to push forward for meme land as well as meme coin. The whole idea is that we want to work with investors who are also going to be strategically helping us to build our background within a bunch of Asian countries, as well as we get their feedback on more refreshed laws which actually apply to us. In hand, that also means that we haven't, we haven't reached out or raised any kind of funds from any American investor or a venture capital whatsoever. We've been focusing on, our specific regional global zones. So I think at that point, it pretty much makes more sense for us to also seek for more Asia-based investors and Asia-based brands and companies, and that's how we've been going about it. And I think, like, from what Ray was saying before, right, like about feedback that we've been receiving, and that was actually a conversation we were having yesterday in the chats as well. That a lot of times, like considering markets on crypto as well as NFTs have been taking a hit, there have been suggestions and questions as to why we are pushing the token, in these markets, like in bad markets, in quotations. I think it's pretty simple, right? Like from what we've been saying in the start, meme is a very vital part of us being able to scale our products as well as our audiences. But at the same time, it is there is never a right time to launch anything, right? Like historically, meme land has only launched in like possibly the worst market situations, and it's been fairly resilient at that level. But coming to the token, I don't think anyone can time the market. So if there have been conversations about, is meme land waiting for a better market to drop token, that has not been our primary consideration whatsoever. We are essentially pushing for what we can, and we've been pushing the token for several months now. But what's important is that there are some external factors like exchanges and conversations with them that we are focusing on, because there are some things that are out of our control when it comes to the timelines. But
Mm.
like if it was completely based on us, we're ready to go with the token like ASAP, right? Like we can push the token like tomorrow, like minus some exceptions out there. So yeah, there are some things that we have to wait for, and because like Ray says, we want to drop a banger, so we want to do it the right way. And if waiting for some time helps us drop the token, because we can only drop a token once in our spans, we want to do it in the best way possible.
Yep, I think for the Asia angle, right, I think it's very, very obvious, right? The last time I talked to some friends at Coinbase, right, basically they're expanding to Asia, right? I think their headquarters is in Singapore, in Asia, right? I think to them, international market is I would say the highest priority, even more than the local market, right? So I feel like anyone who thinks that okay, oh, only the American centralized exchange is the key, I think they're probably Americans, right? Because I think Americans always think that America is like the top country, right? Everything is evolved around America. I think it's probably true, I think at this moment, right? But a lot for the industry, right? I think for culture, right? For a lot of new things, new innovation, right? I think a lot of them are kind of like push forward, right? But by a lot of like Asian countries and stuff like that, right? I'm not saying that okay, the countries they should compete against each other, right? But I would just saying that I think it's almost like a natural selection in a way that when you are at the top for quite a long time, right? You are generally very conservative, you are very prudent, right? And on innovation, that's why you can see that, for example, like Korea, right? You can see that they have a lot of new kind of innovations, right? On blockchain, on culture, right? And I think meanwhile, right now Japan is a little bit suffering, right? Because I think in the 80s, in the 90s, right, they were the leaders at the time, right? So I feel like for crypto, right, for Web3, I think Asia is an obvious choice, right? I think for us, we actually enjoy that kind of like I would say geographical advantages, right, on that end as well, right? And not to mention right now, the position of Hong Kong, the stance of China, right, towards Web3 and crypto, right? I think a lot of interesting things are happening in Asia, right? I really, really urge our holders, our community to understand more about Asia, right? Instead of, okay, we only look at the US market and stuff like that. Right? At the end of the day, crypto, blockchain, there's no boundary, right? And I think that's something that we want our community to see that as well. Yeah, and anything else on that part? Yeah. I think that's why in short, right? I think for the conversation with the centralized exchange, right, I would say that they have interest on us, right? I think we have moved forward to move past the, I would say, the initial stage, right? I think but honestly, right, as I mentioned in the chat and stuff, right, we try to be very, very cautious, right? At the end of the day, we believe that the most amazing things that can happen to a human being, right, will happen to us, right, if we just lower our expectation, right? I think that's something that Phil Dunphy, right, in Modern Family mentioned, right? But that's also kind of like my philosophy in running a project, right? In running a team. At the end of the day, we do our best, right? But we don't expect anyone else, right, too much, right? So that we don't get disappointed too much. Yeah, I think that's something that is all we can talk about the centralized exchange, right? But at the end of the day, I think that crypto is more than just centralized exchange, right? Worst come to worst, right? I think we can launch on Texas anytime, right? It's just that when we want more people to actually own the token, right? I think working with every players in town, I think that would be the better way out, right? Because I think a lot of the people who understand who buy cryptos, right? They only buy from centralized exchange, right? Only the degens of I mean, mostly is the degens who buy a lot of meme coins and stuff in Uniswap, in other, I would say, decentralized exchange, right? I think that part, the user experience is still not good enough for a lot of the, I would say, normal holders, right? That's why we don't think about, okay, whether we launch on centralized or decentralized exchange because of the price and stuff. It's never about that. It's always about how can we make it a more, I would say, user-friendly experience, right, for our community, right? If we can make it like more user-friendly, right, then we should work with that partner, right? That's always our priority when we make the decision. Yeah. So
Right.
that part is something about the private sale. And Cha, anything to add on the private sale?
Yeah, no, I think that's it. I think we will have to pretty quickly get into the breakdown of the tokenomics and all the categories as well, because I think that's what people are waiting for, as well as getting into token modeling.
I think for the airdrop, right, we mentioned that it's like a 25% of the total supply, 5% of the total supply will be unlocked instantly, right? And then the remaining 20% will be held up in the NFT, right? In other words, I would say that the NFT is like the piggy bank, right? And then to kind of like hold the meme coin, right? Yeah, whatever the amount, right? And then for the private investor, private sale, right? I think as I mentioned, right, we have we call it like a daily unlock schedule, right? And to be honest, right, I think the private investors, they actually have I would say the second best or the worst, no, the WORSE, right, term, right, comparing to our community members, right? As I mentioned in the very beginning, right, we always see that Memeland is, we are building the community company, right? That's why even when we think about fundraising and stuff like that, right, of course we want to get help from some professionals, right? But at the same time, we believe that Web3 is all about the participation of the community, right? That's why we also want to make sure that, okay, we don't give too much, right, to the so-called professional investors, right? Because at the end of the day, right, they're not with us from the beginning, right? We want to make sure that our community, right, they actually get the most of our fungible token, right? So for the private investors, they actually have a second best unlocking term, right? They don't have any initial unlock, right? They will have a 6-month lockup. Yeah, after the 6 months, 10% of their holdings, right, will be unlocked, and then the remaining 90% will be unlocked over the next 18 months, right? That's the private investors. And then for the community pre-sale, right, community sale, right, we call it fire sale, right? Again, it's like 10 to 12% of the total supply, right? 25% of the supply will be instantly unlocked, and then the remaining 75% will be unlocked over the next 18 months. So in other words, basically the community part will be unlocked way before the private investors. Right? The whole idea is, I mean, the lockup is not very used to, I mean, most people, they're not very used to the kind of concept like lockup and stuff like that, right? So we want to make sure that our community get the most favorable terms, right? That's why we designed it that way, right? And in the lack of a better works, right? It's almost like we want to make sure that the community feel comfortable that, because there are more like professional investors, right? They hold the bet, right, longer than our community does. Yeah, that's something that we want to create.
I think, I think that's been it's been like one of the most interesting and impressive things, that something that we're actually personally proud of, right? When it comes to the private round, we've been speaking with, like you said, we've been speaking with top angels, people from Etherscan, CoinGecko, as well as like major venture capitals, like from Amber, we have Spartan, Folius, Fenbushi, Polygon, like you name it, right? We managed to win like the trust and confidence from possibly like the topmost investors in the entire crypto space as of now. And they generally, like, if you see any round, right, like if you see any investment patterns, most of these angels or investors actually come in at much smaller valuations. They come in with better vesting cycles, with no cliffs, right? Because they have strategic power. They're they're important players in the space. But uh, we were pretty strict about our community should get the best terms all across. They should get like the smallest vesting. They should get no lockups. They should not get like, you know, they should get pretty much the best vesting as well as time periods. While the investors who have been investing for the past decade or more actually in the crypto space, these guys have a longer vesting cycle as well as a cliff period or a lockup, if you might say, at the same valuation as what would come with the community. So the community fire sale getting the airdrop, the community fire sale getting a 25% unlock right on day zero is actually one of the best things that we could do. And it was very nice that the investors and all the private investors were actually supportive of us prioritizing our community over them. And this barely happens. Like if you see most investors are here to also make money, and they're also trying to get the best for themselves and for their liquidity providers. But for the first time, like it's actually a breath of fresh air when you see, even investors focus on our community just like how we wanted to. So that was really nice to see how investors responded to our requests in those 100+ calls we did.
Yeah. I think literally we took like over 100 calls. Yeah, I think in 2 to 3 weeks, and then we closed the round. Right. I think it's almost like very, very exceptional. Right. I think especially in a market like this, right? Because when you talk to most of the teams, right, they will tell you how hard it is, right, to raise funding, right? So I would say that we're very, very grateful to have the support from our private investors, right? I think they are the almost like the best names, right, in the market, right, in the industry, right? And then we get the support, and also literally tell some of them, okay, we can't give you that much, right? I'm sorry. Thank you for your love, right? But we can't take so much of your love. It's kind of like that, right? So I think I really, really, we are really grateful that they're very understanding, right? They understand why we want to do it, right? Because we see it as a way to kind of like to kickstart the relationship, right, with them, right, and then to get their help, right, to get their advice, right, instead of we only get their money, right. I think that's something that we want to do, right. For example, some of the Web2, Web3 founders, right, that we talk to, they're very, very thoughtful, right. They give us a lot of useful insights, right? For example, when we talk to like Sandeep of Polygon and also Sandy from Scroll, right, I think they share a lot of different views on how they see L1, L2, and L3, right? And how they think about like listing on centralized exchange, listing on decentralized exchange, what about market makers and stuff like that. I think they actually share a lot of very, very useful insights, right? Another thing that we also very grateful, for example, when we talk to like Matthew, right, and also Bobby and TM from CoinGecko, right, from Everscan. They also share their view on, okay, for example, like ERC 6551, right? It's like new wallet standard, right? That people talk about a lot, right? And there are also a kind of abstraction and stuff like that. Right? I think they also share their I would say, expertise view on, okay, how long they think, this will become a main thing, right? Whether we should lock up our token, right, in ERC 6551 wallet, right? I think they actually give us a lot of good advice on that end as well, right? I think I would say that I think 90%. Or 90% of the people that we talk to, right? Basically, they say yes, right? After a call, after 2 calls, right? So I think we are very grateful about that. And for the people who say no, right? I'm still very grateful, right? Because at the end of the day, I don't think we should get a yes, right? Because that would mean that our valuation would be too low, right? Yeah, or that would mean that, okay, we are doing something that is too safe, right? Otherwise, I think there should always be some no's that we get, right? Because at the end of the day, people have different investment philosophy and thesis, right? So it only makes sense that we get some no's, right? I think that's the last thing that I want to talk about, the private investor. And then for the community part, right, for the fire sale, right, I think the part is also very, very straightforward. I think we mentioned like 2 to 3 months ago, right? You should reserve like 0.69 ETH, right? I think at the time, right, I think the whole concept or the whole tokenomics, right, we keep evolving, right? After talking to more professionals, right? That's why when you look at the latest tokenomics that we just shared, right, there are only like 10 to 12%, right, of the total supply will be going to our community via fire sale, or including the allow list, including the wait list, right? So if you divided that 10 to 12%, right, across like let's call it like 10,000 holders, right? Or that will be, I mean, the amount would not be as high as like 0.69 ETH, right? I think at the time when we announced that number, on one hand, the tokenomics was not confirmed. On the other hand, is that we consider the price fluctuation of Ethereum, right? I mean, of course, right, the Ethereum just pump a little bit, right, these 2 days, right? But I think that the price is always fluctuating, right? So that's how we think about. We mentioned about the 0.69 ETH, but turns out I think this is like a we what's the term for it? We hold a stone and then to drop to our feet. What's the term for that? Yeah,
You hurt your feet with the stone you throw.
yeah, it's kind of like that, right? I think at the end of the day, I think most of our holders, right, they are like very stretched, yeah, on the NFT side, right? And when we out of good conscience, right, to tell this amount, first, I think some of them, they are very angry, right, because they feel like, okay, we want to get more from them, right? On the other end, right, they also feel like, okay, oh, if I have to get the amount, right, to fully maximize our the fire sale spot, right, then maybe I don't have amount to buy some of the NFT and stuff like that, right? So I think it's almost like it's something that I wouldn't say fuck up, right? But I would say that we kind of like didn't consider all the situation enough. Right. So when you divided that amount, I would say that the final, I would say the fire sale spot, I think is around like $400, right, to $600 to $700, right, per fire sale spot. Right. Chart is my calculation correct?
Yeah, we'll be around that, which has reduced from 0.69, but this is also coming out of community feedback and feedback we got from MVPs that we're trying to find middle ground where it's not too much and not too low as well, so people can participate in the fire sale more comfortably, as well as receive their airdrops according to their NFTs.
Yep. I think at the end of the day, right, when we mentioned the 0.69 ETH, it's never really the price, right? We always mentioned that it was like the maximum that you need, right? I think that's how we think about that. It's just that people just take it as the literal amount, right? I think at the end of the day, people don't read text, right? They only read the numbers, right? So somehow they just make all the calculation based on 0.69, right? And I think that creates some, I would say, misunderstanding, right? Or some, I would say, yeah, let's call it misunderstanding, right? And I think that's something that we didn't expect, right? And right now, when you look at the tokenomics, right, it's actually very simple in a way that, yeah, I think $400 to $600 to $700. That means like 0.2 ETH to 0.4 ETH, around that number, right? If Ethereum price stand as the price of today, right? So I think that's what we will see. I think the total spot is about 12,000 to 16 to 17,000, yeah, if I remember it correctly, right? And I think that this is how we allocate for the fire sale. It's almost like an extra part that, oh, if you believe in meme land, right? If you want to get more meme coin and stuff, right? For shits and geckos, right? Then you just join it, right? If you don't, right, just enjoy the airdrop, right? Just hold on to your NFT, right? You don't have to join it, right? I mean, that's why the next time you complain, right, just shut the fuck up, right? Because it's not like we force you to join, right? It's almost like this is like a voluntary decision for you to join, right? So I feel like this is something that we want to communicate very, very clearly, right? Because at the end of the day, we can push the whole so-called fire sale part, right, to the private investors, right? But we want to keep our promise that we want to make sure that our community is the only masters that we have, right? I think in Bible, right, it mentioned that, okay, you can't serve two masters, right? I think in a community, in a project, it's the same, right? How come a lot of projects, they kind of like make some, I would say, bad, or I was not bad, right? But different decisions, right? After they raise like shit ton of money, is because right now, they don't really have to care about the community anymore, right? Because they are more like leaning towards back to the old Web 2 model, where okay, you only be held responsible, right, to your investors and stuff, right? So I think this is the last thing that we want, right? That's why we try to have more participation from the community, right? I mean, again, right, if you don't have that resources, right, just don't participate, right? I think the airdrop itself, I think it's a pretty generous one, right? Considering all the airdrops that we see, right? And we also want to make sure that you don't overinvest, right? Because at the end of the day, I think Web3, NFT, I think all of these kind of assets, right? I mean, they're still very new, right? The price fluctuation is almost like very, very huge comparing to the traditional assets, right? So I think this is something that we want to make sure that our holders, our community understands. Yeah.
Okay, right. Before we go into part 2, can we talk about maps and potions?
I think we probably don't have time to talk about part 2 SocialFi and stuff like that. We probably need to have another section, right, to talk about SocialFi, right? We can just give us all about meme, right? And I think before we end it, right? I think for the last part, as we mentioned, is the contributors, right? Basically, there is about 20%, right? And then there will be a 1-year lockup, right? That means all the contributors, all the teams, right? They will not have the token, right, for sale to trade, right? Because I think we believe in what we are building, right? So somehow we don't want our community to feel like, okay, they just dump the token and stuff like that, right? I think you have, if you follow closely on the space right now, I think there were other meme coins where the dev team do some shady, I wouldn't say shady stuff, right? But I would say they do something that is against the interest of their community, right? And I think a lot of bad holders, right? They try to explain why that is like the good thing, right? I mean, to me, I think integrity is very important, right? And integrity means that you do what you do, right? You do what you do, you do what you say, right? Publicly, right? You don't do something that is against what you say, right? I think that's something that we want to make sure that doesn't happen at Memeland. Yeah, Cha.
Yeah, I think the last thing that we need to get into is the token price and the valuations.
Yep. The total supply, right? We mentioned that before, is 69 billion, right? I mean, for the culture, right? And also because it's a meme coin, it only makes sense that the supply is huge, right? And then the F is that called the FDV? Yeah.
Yes.
The FDV, right? In the initial FDV is 69 million, right? That means each meme coin, the initial price is like 0.001, right? I think that's the valuation that we have. Yeah. Our community, our private investors, they all buy a meme coin at this amount, right? So in other words, right, when we get Ember, when we get Spartan, when we get Polygon Ventures, right, when we get all those good names investors to buy in, right, they are buying at the same valuation with a worse lockup term. Yeah, and I think that's what we have right now. Right. So I think, Cha, anything to add on this part?
Yeah, just to like give some more clarity to people who aren't very involved with tokens. When we mean FDV, it means the total valuation of the entire token supply would be 69 million. And that like just to give some context, like ApeCoin, for example, that like the fully diluted value for ApeCoin is about $1.5 billion. And the market cap is pretty much dependent on the circulating supply. So for meme coin, we will go with a lower float because we have to be respectful of market conditions, even though we are going to ignore them when it comes to the launch. So we will be starting with a lower float. That also means that the starting market cap would be in single to low double-digit $1 million, so that there is essentially room for absorption. So yeah, 69 million would be the FDV, and the market cap would be dependent on the initial float. I'm sure you guys understand that.
Yep, I think this the tokenomics that we just shared, right? I think they are, I would say 90%, 95% finalized, right? I think the last part that we may make some adjustment, right, is is for some centralized exchange. I think they require certain, I would say, criteria, right? When we work with them, right, and that may make some, I would say, a small percentage change, right? But the part about the fire sale, the part about the airdrop, I think the part about the private sale, I think it's like all confirmed. And I think that's why we feel comfortable to share it today, right? And because it's almost like finalized, yeah. And I think yeah, I think that's what we want to share, right? I think for the date and stuff, right, I think people always want to know about when, right? But as I mentioned, right, I think we this is like pending on the negotiation with the centralized exchange, right? And I think we try to push it as quick as possible, right? Because we believe that there's no way to time the market anyway, right? I think especially when there's like a vest lockup and stuff like that, right? Then it doesn't really matter, right? Ideally, right, we finished all the lockup right before the or right at the start of the next bull market, right? So when we can't really time the bull market, there's no way to time the launch and stuff like that, right? That's why we just launch it as soon as possible. And as I mentioned before, yeah, we always see meme coin as the next step of meme land ecosystem, right? Because we want more people to participate in our ecosystem. We push it forward, right? That's why there was some, I would say, misestimate, right, on the dates and stuff before, right? Because we underestimate that when we work with like third parties, it actually take way more time than we expected, right? I mean, we seldom, not never, right? We seldom miss any deadlines and stuff, right? When we only launch our own stuff, right? But when we work with third parties, they have their own procedures, right? Especially when some of them they have some legal, I would say, troubles, right? And those kind of like hinders the progress and stuff, right? So, but at the end of the day, I think we are moving along quite well, right? And that's why we are very, very bullish on the launch, right? And we try to make sure that the FDV, right, is low enough, right, but also high enough to represent what we have built, right, but also low enough that everyone feels comfortable, right, to hold. Right, I think that's something that we want to achieve when we design the whole tokenomics. Yeah, Cha.
Yep. No, I think we've covered majority of all of this when it comes to the FDV, market cap, distribution. When it comes to the airdrop numbers, we will pretty much drop a more elaborate like explanation of how the airdrop will be distributed. Like we said, like for example, captain's rarities would matter, but on top of that, also there would be other premiums based on multiple metrics. So we will drop a distribution curve more closer to the actual airdrop. And in the meanwhile, we will process like with our private sale as well as our fire sale as we move forward.
Yep. And the maps, right, and valuables, basically, we will reward them first. Yeah. And I think for potion, right, because first of all, the amount of potion is not that many, right, comparing to maps and valuables, right? And the value of potion is much higher, right? That's why we have other plan for potion, right? But for maps and valuables, right, basically we will reward the maps and potions in the beginning, right? And there's a good chance that we will stop potion maps and also valuables, the generation of them, right after the meme coin launch, right? Because I think after the launch of the fungible token, I think it's a good time to rethink and also redesign the whole NFT structure, right? In the meme land ecosystem, right? Because at the end of the day, one comment that we hear quite a lot is, okay, I find that the meme land NFT ecosystem is kind of like complicated, right? Or what exactly should I buy, right? Even I like the artwork, I like the concept of smart PFP, right? I think those are the things that we try to take the time to think about and to I would say let's call it we launch, right, on the ecosystem on the NFT side, right? So we want it to be focused heavily on the meme coin, right? And then for other, I would say, placeholders, right, like maps and stuff. I think we will have I would say updated law about that, right? But we probably will stop the generation of them. And of course, when for the fire sale and stuff like that, right? There are wait right? I mean, when we launched waitlist in June, right, we expected people to give out to their friends and stuff who are interested in the meme ecosystem, right? But some of you if you can sell your mom, right, you probably will also sell your mom, and that's why selling waitlist is something that is like totally not a surprise, right? So somehow I think a lot of people they sell and buy the waitlist. I think we will stop it. The waitlist registration, right? I think in a week or two, right, when we are kind of like having more updates about the launch day, right? But I think we will stop it so that we can kind of like calculate internally to make a better planning on the fire sale, right? So I think that's all. Cha, anything that we miss?
Yeah, no, I think we got the gist of it, and I think we can give a more stipulated rundown of the tokenomics that we have essentially covered on the show. And just one request to the community is try not to miscommunicate outside or even within. A lot of people must have missed the show, so like try to be more careful with what you say out there. We're trying to stay absolutely pro with all norms and all legal processes, but at the same time, we don't want the community to spread misinformation to get people to buy or sell or whatever. So just like a request is to like try not to spread misinformation according to meme tokenomics, because this is sensitive conversations, and it's all fun and games till someone actually gets wrecked. So yeah.
Yep. I think at the end of the day, I feel like some people they spread misinformation, right, out of personal interest, right? I think sometimes even malicious intent, right? So I think that as a community, right, I think if you see someone spreading misinformation or rumors and stuff, right, ask them to stop, right? Help to clear the air, right? I think that part is important, right? Because I think when people set up, when people make decision based on misinformation, right, they won't blame themselves, right? They blame the team, right? They blame the community, right? I think people who don't try to do your own research, right, they generally are not responsible, right? They feel that they are not responsible for their decision as well. Right? It's usually that kind of combination. You seldom see someone who makes smart decision, who keep blaming other people. Right. So I think as a part of the community, right, we strongly advise our community members, right, to help spread the correct information, right,
Yeah.
to I wouldn't say lower the expectation, right, but more like at least like clear the air, right, to share the correct information. I think that's something that we want our community to help, right. I think that's something that we actually need that, right, and I think there are a lot of like NFT market is suffering right now, right, for whatever reason, right. I think there are only to me, I think NFT will not die, right, but NFT is having a reset, right, and somehow I think this is like a painful period, right. There are a handful of teams, right, that launch in the past year, past 2 years, past 3 years, right, that can survive, right. To be honest, right, it's not because they are bad or good. Right? It's more about how they manage their finance, how they manage their treasury, right? I think Memeland is one of the teams that actually are more like prudent on the financial, right? Because we come from I would say more like a traditional background, right? That's why we understand that okay, there will always be ups and downs. That's why we always have to be prudent, right? When we make the financial decision, right? So I think for us, we have a good catalyst, right? I mean, a lot of people will try to front run and stuff. They try to buy the rumors, sell the news. I think it's something that is part of the game, right? I just hope that our community, right, can really understand what we're building, right, so that you have more confidence, right, comparing to all the people who don't understand enough, right? And I think this is the last thing that we want to mention, right? I think we're here to stay. We're here to build, right? I think Memeland is I'm quite confident that Memeland can be one of the top projects, right, in the space, right? And I think Memecoin is a good step forward, right? I think it's a Memecoin, it's a shitcoin, right? But this is also an important part of the product that we are building, right, to expand our community, to expand the visibility, right? So I'm really excited about this, right? And we work really hard towards this, right? So I want to give a shout out to all the teams, team members that has been helping on the smart contract, right, on the decision, right, and also to the investor, to the advisors that we are working with, right, and of course to the community members who are always supportive, right, who are always positive about what we're building and try to help us to defend the so-called FUD, right? I'm not talking about the constructive criticism. I'm talking about some random negativity for no reason, right? I think I especially thank you for all those holders, right? And for the holders who just try to leash out your bad day on the Discord, right? I hope that you get a better physical help and also mental health help, right? And instead of using Discord as your punching bag, right? But again, I think it's kind of like our society, right? We have all kinds of people, right? I think if we only look at the bad side, then human beings, right, should all be killed, right? Because it seems like the world is like always burning, right? But when we look at the good side, then we understand that there's a good future, right? There are a lot of good people out there, right? Humanity, right, is still there, right? So I really, really hope that our community, right, I think we look at the bright side, right? We support each other, right? Just like what we did last GM show, right? When we talked to Chifo, when you talk to Thrive, right? I think we see a lot of builders, right, within our communities, right? We want to see more people like them to be successful, right? Instead of just focusing. I mean, we can't ignore money, right? But we should not just focus on money, right? And we always have to remember there's a human being behind the computer screen, right? The next time you talk about something, right, remember that is not a bot, right? That's actually a human being, right? So stay respectful, right? And I think this is something that we ask for our community. Yeah, Cha, anything to add before we end?
Yeah, no, I think that's it from my end as well. Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is a great show. I mean, like, we'll leave the second part to a second show. I think it worth like a full show to talk about SocialFi. But today we have some great points. I think people are already talking about like rate. But let's see what's going on with the community, and we're closely listening. So yeah, that's it for today. Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Char. Char, maybe next time you will undox yourself.
Yeah. I think after my I have a proper setup with cameras and stuff. Like, you guys have some cool mics and all that going on. So once I have a more formal setup.
Yeah, we'll see you next time. So if you're in Singapore in September, if you're in Korea, maybe we'll get to see you guys as well. But we just announced like November, we're gonna have event during 8 Fest. So we will have more details and info coming. So if you're planning to Hong Kong, make sure you're learning some Cantonese, or I can teach you some Cantonese. Okay, so that's it for today. Thanks, Ray. Thanks, Char.
Thank you so much.